Day one is officially wrapped up here from Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. It's the 2026 Panini Senior Bowl alongside Tommy Yarrish. I'm Kyle Youmans here for DallasCowboys.com, wrapping up a busy day one. And it's a unique event because not only do we get to watch the stars of this year's NFL draft get to show out their talents and really show off for a lot of these scouts in front offices, but we get a chance to talk to the Cowboys front office. First opportunity to talk to Will McClay and Stephen Jones as a part of this offseason after they've made some really big hires, including Christian Parker at the defensive coordinator spot.
Yeah, Will McClay was really high on the process that the Cowboys took to get here. They were very thorough in this process. 9 candidates interviewed. Will McClay had a lot of good things to say about that, as well as the alignment within the organization from the top down with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones to Brian Schottenheimer and him and the scouting staff. Now, that process is going to continue throughout the course of the rest of this week for Christian Parker and the rest of his defensive staff. They're going to do in-person interviews with some of these defensive assistants starting tomorrow in Frisco. They've already done some virtual ones. They'll start in person tomorrow, and they're hoping to have the rest of that defensive staff rounded out by the end of this week, although it could take a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that's going to be a part of this offseason is you got to get all those dominoes to fall in first because they have some big contract decisions looming. You asked Stephen Jones about that a little bit as well, and he didn't want to be committal with those contract decisions, but he did say it's something that's on the radar and that you could look forward to.
With George Pickens, no, he has not been committal with those kinds of things, but what he has been committal about is the fact that they want George Pickens in Dallas.
Yes.
That's been the same throughout this entire process. He hasn't really dived into much more beyond that. What he did say that was interesting, and he said this in the past as well, is the NFL Combine, which is coming up at the end of March.
February.
February. I've got my dates all mixed up. At the end of February is a great area for agents, teams, and players to get together and start to work on these contract extensions. Will that be the case for George Pickens? We'll see. The franchise tag certainly seems to be in play as well. But for now, again, the case is that the Cowboys want to bring George Pickens back. How couldn't you, to be honest with you?
Yeah.
And they also want to bring Javonte Williams back. Stephen Jones doubled down on that today after saying he wanted a multi-year extension for Dallas's running back earlier at the end of season press conference.
And that's something that he did say is probably going to happen. Those conversations will continue into the NFL Combine as well. I thought a couple of the things that stood out to me is Will McClay talked about the conversations he had with new defensive coordinator in Christian Parker, and the fact that he brought up Savone Revel was really interesting.
Yeah, soon-to-be second-year corner Savone Revel was a name that Christian Parker brought up in the process to the Cowboys staff and in these conversations that they've had early on with Will McClay and the scouting staff when it comes to what do the Cowboys want from a defensive personnel standpoint. What does Christian Parker want? What does a Christian Parker defensive player look like? They're still in the early stages of that, but Savone Revel was a name that Parker mentioned in terms of a guy that he feels he can go and teach and develop into a really good player. And you think about the past that Parker has when developing good players, Patrick Surtain, Cooper DeJean. We've talked about it a ton already. Could Savone Revel be the next one? They are certainly hoping so.
No doubt about it. And while you were working on typing up some great articles that you can read on DallasCowboys.com, and by putting together all of the interview process that happened with Will McClay and Stephen Jones, I was out here watching draft prospects, and I'm glad you're warm and feel very fuzzy and
I
good.
am far from warm.
You're good and ready to go. It is a chilly day, no doubt about it. And then they have pushed practices back. It's a little later than they have had in the past. So this one ending under the lights here at South Alabama Stadium of Hancock Whitney Stadium. Couple standouts. I'll start with the national team early. Lee Hunter, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech, was the first one that stood off and jumped off the page to me. He controlled the line of scrimmage. He was nasty on the interior. Dallas not necessarily shopping for defensive tackle, but he was probably the most impressive prospect that I saw in that first practice of the day. Now, on the offensive side, it was really interesting. Usually when you see a blank white helmet, that is a replacement or a late ad in terms of the players that are on the field. There was a white helmet playing really quality football today, and that's Josh Cameron out of Baylor. Running back, tight, or he's actually listed as a wide receiver. He looked like a running back. He looked like a gadget guy. They used him in a couple different areas. Made 2 of the best catches of the day, was really impressive across the board. I thought he was probably the biggest standout for me on the offensive side of the ball. Now, flip it to the American practice that happened a little later. It was a tough physical practice. Lots of run game practice, lots of things for guys like Jaden Ott, the Oklahoma running back, had a couple of big runs and a couple of opportunities there. And then another guy that I really want to point out on the other side of the Red River rivalry was Malik Muhammad, the cornerback out of Texas, who had a pretty solid day. Tommy had a chance to catch up with him after the practice as well. Let's take a listen.
joined now by Texas corner Malik Muhammad. Malik, first day at practice, obviously a lot of nuances that you have to get used to with a new group of guys, but what was day one like, and how did you feel coming out of practice?
It was pretty good. I mean, I had to get my feet wet, and we had to get our feet wet just from not playing since like late November, early December. But I think it went really good today. Feel like we can get in the meeting room and see what we can build off of.
You mentioned not playing since November. Just looking back on this past year at Texas and the last couple of years that you've had there, what do you feel like you've put on film as NFL scouts and draft analysis continues to happen over yourself going into this process?
I mean, someone with high IQ, technical, know the game within the game, know the insides and outs, can communicate very well, and then just bringing a skill set to be able to play inside and out, and a high value coming into the league.
We here with the Cowboys, we know you're a South Oak Cliff legend, won a state championship with the Golden Bears. It's home to you. What would it mean to come home to Dallas if that was the case come the NFL draft in April?
It'll mean everything, man. I mean, just for my family, for me, for the legacy, and just all the things that I've done. From Little League to high school to college, and then coming back and playing for the Cowboys, I mean, it'll mean everything. I mean, that'll be history for sure.
Conversation there with the Texas Longhorn himself. And Dallas, of course, shopping secondary. He could maybe be in that sweet spot, maybe a third-round, fourth-round type of guy. If he's in the fourth round, Dallas could be in position there.
Yeah, absolutely. A hometown kid, went to South Oak Cliff like we talked about in the interview, and they won a state championship over there. That opportunity would mean a lot to him. It's very clear to see that. And he's a good player, like he was talking about in the interview. A smart, instinctive player that held it down pretty well outside on the boundary for Texas over the course of a few years.
And this was a practice where it was tough to get the passing game going. Garrett Nussmeier at the LSU quarterback position, I thought it was probably the most impressive quarterback on the second practice of the day. Ted Hurst out of Georgia State, he was really impressive. Made a one-handed grab sliding in the back of the end zone on the left sideline. That was a really fun one as well. It's just day one. A lot of it is feeling it out for a lot of these players. They're trying to play together for the first time. They're still learning the playbook for each of these rosters, and they have a lot on their plate when it's interviews and different types of team meetings and different formal interviews as well. So a lot still to come here from the 2026 Panini Senior Bowl. That does it for us here from Mobile, Alabama. Once again for Tommy Yarrish, I'm Kyle Youmans. We'll see you tomorrow with more on DallasCowboys.com.